So good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Hazelnut Roundtable. Even if I think it's not needed, let me introduce the persons here that are joining me in this panel. Jordi Martí is the senior buyer of Borges. Troy Johnson is the managing director and partner of Laurel Food from Oregon. Ofuke Özungun is the country head of Turkey and Georgia, also for Olam. Riccardo Calcagni is the managing director of Besana, and Bilge Ambarrilar is the vice chairman and the head of executive committee at BASF. At myself, I am Stefano Gagliasso, and I'm the head of global procurement and sales of Hazelnut for the Ferrero Group. Okay, so let's go to the agenda of today. We are going to go immediately to the statistics, and then we are going to move to the discussion of this panel that is going to be focused on the driving the quality and the efficiency throughout the value chain in all the different countries. I will go immediately to the statistics. This is the chart representing the actual figures of the current crop and the future crop expectation, and this is represented in an initial basis. Looking at the overall numbers, we started this season with a stock of around 100,000 tons in shell at global level, and we had a crop of 1,100,000 tons, so a total availability of around 1.2 million tons initial basis, with quite a differentiated situation in the different countries. So we had a very excellent crop in Turkey, while in other regions like Italy, for example, there was an issue in terms of frost last year in the springtime, so the crop of Italy was quite down compared to the average trend. We are expecting to have a consumption of about 1 million, and this may be the first time that we are hitting this level. And so the expected ending stock at the end of this season is going to be around 190,000 tons initial basis. Coming to the new season, and by saying that this is a preliminary forecast of the crop, because we are very early compared to the harvest, we are going to have a quite similar good situation as well. So the total production is estimated to be about 1 million tons again. And together with the initial stock, the total availability for the coming season is expected to be 1.2 million again. It means, as a key message from this chart, that next season we are going to have more or less at the global level the same availability that we had in the current season. Going a little bit into details of the different countries and talking about the new crop, Turkey is expected to have a reduction compared to the very positive production that they had last year. Nevertheless, by putting together the crop and the initial stock, the global availability is going to be, again, quite similar to last year, above 800,000. Italy is coming back after a year with a problem in terms of severe frost in some regions. Italy is coming back to good crop. The expectation is largely above 100,000, and maybe this is even a conservative forecast for Italy. Georgia and Azerbaijan are basically confirming the good trend that they are showing in the recent years. And one of the interesting pluses that we are going to have, and Troy is going to probably comment a little bit more on this, is Oregon that is booming up from 30,000 tons to 50,000 tons, metric tons in the next year. And here, this is maybe the biggest news in terms of countries increasing and entering into the competitive arena in the coming future. Just using a comment that we were having yesterday while we were preparing this panel, 10 years ago we were talking about Turkey and Italy, basically, when we were talking about hazelnut. And there are some others. I'm using a quote of Jordi. There were some others countries. Sorry. Today, we are some countries that moved from others to production. So we have new countries coming into the market. We have, of course, the Caucasus. We have just seen a very interesting video about Georgia. Same we can say about Azerbaijan. There are new origins coming out like Chile. Oregon is finally probably moving out from a very niche market to a more large production and more large interest to also to industry. So this is a big change that just at the beginning. We are going to see in the coming years these countries be more and more increasing in terms of offer and challenging the leading positions, of course, of Turkey and Italy on the other side. The second chart is very simply the translation of the in-shell into kernel. I will not spend so much time on this because, as you can see, even by considering the different yields in the different countries, the situation, the messages are still the same. So next year we are going probably to have the same viability as we had in the current year. And before entering into the discussion, let me just spend a few words about the sector. If we have to summarize what is characterizing the hazelnut sector, not only the hazelnut sector, because I heard the same type of discussions in these days in other categories, but basically our sector is the volatility. So we spent a lot of energies, a lot of time, all of us in the last years talking about volatility. Volatility in different ways. Volatility in quantity. So we had a very different productions in the different years, going ups and down. So volatility in terms of availability of the goods. But we are also speaking about volatility in terms of quality. Countries are reducing the ability to be competitive in the market due to quality issues. And lastly, we are talking about volatility in terms of income. Normally, we are talking, the discussion is on the volatility about price. But in reality, we should talk about volatility in terms of income, because this is bringing to the table the concept of cost, and then the concept of efficiency. So these three volatilities are characterizing the sector and are affecting all the actors in the value chain. These three volatilities are not good for the customers. We can see the export from Turkey going up and down depending on price, quality. So we are losing customers some years, we are gaining back some other years, but it's not a stable situation. The volatility is not good for the processors and for the traders, because at a certain point in time, it seems that the only way to make business is to take a position. And to take a position force is by itself to make a business model on risk. And the volatility is also not good for the farmers. And I'm talking about all the farmers of the world. So I'm talking about the farmers of 1,000 hectares in Chile, as the farmers of 1 hectare in Georgia or Turkey, because these ups and downs are not helping them to have the right income and have the right stability in order to invest for the future in terms of quantity, in terms of quality. So the volatility is one of the challenge of the sector in different many aspects. And the message that this table is giving to us is that here we have an opportunity, because we are having a sort of stability in terms of quantity availability. So we are having 2 years in a row where the global availability will be more or less the same. So the volatility in terms of quantity seems to be minimized in this time. So all the energies of the sectors and the investment and the effort can be concentrated on minimizing the volatility of quality, so increasing the level of quality of the entire value chain, and in minimizing the volatility of the income through an investment in increasing the efficiency at each and every step of the value chain. And this is why this was the topic of the discussion of today that I would like to have with our friends here. So we would like to talk about how the different actors in the different countries are working in order to improve, to drive the quality up and to increase the efficiency at the different level of the value chain. Before entering into this, I would like to ask to all the people here to have an overview on each and every single country, then we are going to enter into the detail. So I would start from you, Troy, because Oregon is becoming quite interesting, right? So my question is this boom of this year a spot situation, or you see really a trend in increasing the production, and in general, how you see the hazelnut sector in your country?
It's definitely a trend. However, it's mostly brought up from the terrible growing conditions of last year. Last year, Oregon set records in October, February, and March for the most rain in the history of the state. We had more rain from October 1st to April 30th than ever in the history of the state. And then in the summer, we had some very hot days, which we're not accustomed to. And frankly, the trees and the orchards were absolutely stressed. Growers weren't able to prune as well. They weren't able to spray as well. So the trees absolutely did not produce at all. So we had a crop, when we generally have about a 34,000 ton crop would be an average, we were only 27,000 ton last year. So in previous years, what the Oregon industry seems to have happened is a alternate bearing pattern that occurs after a very major weather event. And so we're expecting that these trees that produce under a short ton an acre are going to produce over 2 ton an acre, potentially, of the mature acres. And then we have our new orchards, which are double density planted. And so effectively, we're adding another 3,000 ton that are going to be harvested this year that weren't in calculation last year. But that's basically another 3,000 acres turns into basically 6,000 acres. So we're going to be harvesting about 40,000 acres this year, and or 16,000 hectares, and we're going to definitely see a very big uptick.
But do you see a trend in continuous planting and eventually planting new varieties that might be also suitable for the industry usage?
Oh, absolutely. We have several different varieties that the Oregon State University has brought to the growers now that are being planted. Basically, there's about 7 new ones, and most of those are a shelling variety, so that they would be able to be shelled and have a higher yield, allowing us to be more efficient in our marketing and not have to command a higher niche price all the time. We have much more investment from outside countries and states and big investment groups trying to plant. They're bringing more efficiencies to it. So we're going to continue to see next year we'll have another 4,500 acres will come into the bearing. Year after that it goes to 9,000. The year after that another 8,000. So we're going to continue. I believe by 2025 we should have over 100,000 metric ton. So we will see a little bit of a downtick that following next year after this banner crop, but we'll continue to rise.
Last question on this. Oregon is basically focused on a niche market at this point in time when shell hazelnut sold mainly to China. This growth and this diversification also of the varieties in the country may lead to a change in the structure of the market, so to also diversification of the channels, so not only in shell but industries with a different type of logic compared to the niche. What do you think?
Absolutely, and we need to do that. We've spent. There's been years in which China has taken 80% of our entire crop. It's that we've been that dependent on them in the past. And we know we can't do that. It's not a growing market. China is at most has only taken 27,000 short ton in the past. We can't expect them to take 80% of a 50,000 ton crop this year. So we have to diversify. And frankly, I think that the hazelnut is one of the most versatile nuts there are. It seems to complement most items. And it's been so underutilized. And in Oregon, it's our fault because we have a grower association that sets the price and the terms in which basically all the handlers follow. And frankly, they get 100% of their money by the middle of December, whether we've sold the product or not, whether we can sell the product or not. And if we do very well over the course of the year, then they come back in April and take more money. So it's been very difficult for processors to invest, but most of us are still doing that because we know long term we have to have changes. We can't, we all want growers to be happy and profitable, but the entire value chain, as you said, needs to be sustainable in that way.
Thank you, Roy. Jordi, Spain seems to be stable. What's going on here?
Well, Stefano, first of all, thanks a lot for keeping Spain out of the others.
Yes.
And allowing
yes.
me, and allowing to be.
It's not me. It's not a face.
and still allowing us to be in the picture, and so on. No, frankly speaking, well, you know the importance in Spain is limited. We don't worry too much. We are not going to collapse the market. We are going. Production is steady and so on. But I want to give you a certain message of a certain optimistic point of view. No, after several years that Spain was really in a very dramatic situation for the agricultural, practically with a lot of orchards in abandon. Now, these last 2-3 years, they are starting to be recovering. And which more important is starting to be recovering these orchards, but managed by more young people that is bringing a lot of new concepts against their old parents that was absolutely taking care, not taking care, really taking care of the orchards. No, we cannot expect a big increase in the volumes. This year we are retiring a figure of 17,000 tons. We are not expecting to be a bumper crop because cost of the land, cost of the water in Spain is so strong. It is limiting very much the production, but at least, which is for me important for the optimistic point of view, is that we are recovering at least to keeping to be still in the picture, let's say. No?
Thank you, Jordi. Moving to Italy. Ricardo, Italy is back, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the crop is expected to be, again, a good one. How do you see the market there? How do you see the future also?
Yeah. Thank you, Stefano, for your presentation, which has been very, very clear up to now. And what I can say about Italy, after a very difficult crop, and we've been overpassing all the difficulties, and we managed, let's say, in a difficult year, we can see only a very bright future, not only about the new crop, which is coming in August, but also for the following years. As I was telling in some other last year convention, Italy, and not only on hazelnuts, to be honest, but in general in the nuts, in the three, or let's say on the four main nuts, has a very bright future in terms of new orchard and new way to the market. There is a big movement going on with very big movement which we are passing from a hobby agricultural plan to a proper agricultural plan. I'm also part on top head of organization of producer, and we see every day, every moment that new growers are approaching the nuts, and mainly the hazelnuts, because they consider it after cultivating apples and peaches or other horticultural product, very easy to run in hazelnuts field, because we know that in theory is one of the most easy crop to handle with. And of course we see a huge increase in the field, new area, and we are moving where we are at the moment, 80,000 hectares already planted, with more or less 55 are in production, to a potential of 150, 160,000 new development. So we will reach such a big number with a huge increase in the yield. That's very important because the new variety are quite productive.
So the trends are new hectares, new varieties even for Italy. There are some traditional varieties there, right? And also in Italy, the improvement of the efficiency in the agricultural practices in the chain, right?
Yes, as you were mentioning, to the grower, it doesn't really matter nowadays the price. To sell hazelnuts at €3 per kilo or €2 per kilo. What really counts at the end of the day, how many euro they make per hectare or per acre, as you would say in the States. And this is the real fact. So we are moving out from a very psychological price mentality of the growers. And also, I have to say, thanks to the main organization and the main companies in Italy, we are moving at the center of the focus, the grower, not more the product behind. And this is a key point because, as we can see in Italy, in Spain, in other European countries, with the time, the size of the farm has been reducing to a very minimal. And when you are cultivating 1 acre or 1 hectare, we know that is not sustainable. So we need to figure out ourselves how to help these growers to make a sustainable agriculture.
Thank you, Riccardo. Bilge, how was going on in Turkey?
In terms of crop, if you want to touch on that, I mean, this is the 4th year.
No voice.
Mike. Okay.
We're there. I mean, after the frost of 2014, this is the 4th year that we have normal crop. So, and it shows the sustainability I mean, basically, you will not be able to stop the frost, but you can do a lot of other things where you can, reduce the volatility in terms of supply, as you mentioned. So as you saw on the charts, I mean, we have a healthy crop, not a bumper crop, but with, the carryover, we will have another stable year. That's what we're hoping.
And what do you think is the trend for the future in the market? We are hearing new plantations, new varieties, different or evolved agricultural practices in some other countries. There are things going on also in Turkey in this field, right?
True. Turkey may be seen as the slow-walking giant, vulnerable to new changes with the new countries, varieties, etc. But Turkey has such a large planted base. I mean, whatever you do in Turkey in terms of increasing the efficiency, you will move the needle by far. For example, when you improve the Turkish efficiency by 10%, I mean, it's 3 Chiles. Or 15%, it's Italy. So, and we have a lot of room to improve in our orchards. I mean, some of our orchards are new, some of our orchards are old, but we can rejuvenate them, and we are already doing that, with some efforts. I mean, of your company, of the private companies, exporters, etc., or the chambers of commerces, and we see some positive results of that already. I mean, the Turkish average can be discussed just about, the 100 kilos per decar, maybe a bit less, maybe a bit more, but with good agricultural practices, we've seen examples, and they are not outliers. I mean, it's like an average. We can easily hit 250 and 300 kilos within 2 years. So, I mean, Turkey is again, depending on our efforts, awakening giant again, and we can add easily some more tonnage in the upcoming future.
Thank you, Bilge. Ufuk, what about Georgia? You can speak also about Turkey, by the way. Right?
Thank you, Stefano. First of all, thank you that you gave me the word for Georgia. I never thought, I'm since 20 years talking about Turkey, Turkish industry, hazelnuts. I never thought after 20 years I will speak some words about Georgia.
Yeah, this is interesting, yes. Right?
Since 20 years, we are talking in Turkey about the Turkish, as you said, the volatility of price, the volatility of incomes, and the industrial concerns. Now we, as Turkey, we created also a country and a production area which is neighboring to us, but it is coming in the production. It is number 3 now after Turkey and Italy. It is a young production area, we have to say, because I'm a Turkish citizen and I'm coming from the Turkish hazelnut industry. I can only compare with Turkey, what is going on in Georgia. At the time to tell you something about the production, this year's crop size is, as you mentioned in the chart, 80,000. I'm having some concerns about this. I think we are close to 70,000 because last year the brown marmorated stink bug issue was a very difficult epidemical issue in Georgian, not only hazelnuts, also in the larger area of agricultural environment. And this year, I think the governmental intervening and also the attention of the farmers are having some precautions in this regard. Last year, the crop, as we have forecasted, was also 70,000, and this, in terms of kernels, it was related to 25,000 tons. And what happened? We had only 12,000 tons of kernels. This year, we hope in Georgia to have again 24,000 tons of kernel terms. This related to 70,000 in shell, but it is an improving area. In Georgia, at the time, there are roughly 51,000 tons of production hectares and 9,000 tons of non-bearing hectare. That means 60,000 hectares is already existing. And coming to your questions to the other friends what is happening for the future, for the next 5 to 10 years. In Georgia, the government is supporting because it is a huge income for the Georgian industry and currency budget, Hazelnuts. And after 2014, after the huge jump of hazelnut prices globally due to Turkish frost, it made hazelnut production very interesting. We think the country is planning to have a production of between 80 to 100,000 ton, 80 to 100,000 hectares in the coming near future, and new varieties are coming because the markets that Georgia was serving was more Far East and Eastern Bloc countries, and it should be more industrialist, and the varieties which is now planted are focused more on the industrial side. These are the developments, but for the harvesting, for drying, for treating the hazelnuts, like in Turkey, where it is more disciplined since 60 years, it is going a very strong and educated and trained farmer and industry. This has a couple of years more to develop in Georgia.
Thank you, Fuk. So we are hearing that Oregon is growing, new plantation, new varieties, Italy, same, Georgia, same. I would add also Chile, Azerbaijan, they're also planting. Turkey is the giant that it can, with the 0 point something, can create another Italy and so on. So the potentiality of the increase of the production is there, right? And we can even say that it is already happening. So what about the demand? So this is a question for all of you. How do you see the demand? Do we have enough demand to absorb what it is going to be produced in the coming years? And which type of demand we have? Which are the trends that you see in your different markets? Please. Who wants to start?
I'll go ahead and start.
Okay.
We, for the Oregon industry, did a consumer research study this last November, and we compared it to the last one we had done in 2006. So in 11 years, we saw an increase in, well, first off, about 88% of those surveyed believe that hazelnuts are healthy. From that, in 2006, only 24% thought they were very healthy. And now in 2017, 47% think they're very healthy. We saw main dish, people want to see hazelnuts in a main dish. 63% of them wanted to do that. 76% want to see it in a salad dressing. And 64% want to see it on a salad. There's tremendous opportunities that we haven't really touched. And in Oregon, I know that I, for one, and there's some others here from Oregon, that we've been very active in trying to get our industry to put a little bit of money into it and do a little bit of promotion. Because the hazelnut, like I said before, is very versatile. It's got tremendous opportunity. Look at what almonds have done. I mean, they've created markets when there weren't markets. There's no reason why hazelnuts can't follow. So I believe that we can continue to create demand in many different segments.
Thank you. By the way, I agree on the fact that the almonds trends can be followed by the hazelnut, and I agree on the fact that the U.S. is going to be probably the next interesting market for us. I totally agree on that.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that you had the answer for us.
I may have.
I believe, I mean, in the last few decades, we passed the hurdle of the perception of hazelnuts, whether it's good or bad, healthy or not. I mean, we're way past beyond that. As you said, when you're touching the industry, they're all about the economics of costs, volatility, availability, and sustainability later on. So you don't want to invest in machine or the R&D for something which will diminish in 15 years. So the good news is, I believe, I mean, we are surpassing that hurdle of sustainability also. In terms of price, when you're decreasing the volatility, which is a function of the supply, which seems to be okay for the near future as well, that will be also fine. By applying the new techniques, by decreasing the cost, decreasing the labor portion of the hazelnut growing, will also suppress that. So, like all the tree nuts, my first INC was in Berlin in 2015. I mean, it's all about marketing. I mean, the more we market our products for all tree nuts, including hazelnuts, we can get more exotic, like the hazelnut milk, or we can get deeper into the penetration of everywhere in the world. I mean, we have still a huge Asia, almost untapped. I mean Asia different from China, Southeast Asia, India, etc. Even in Turkey, right now we have, we are consuming hazelnuts as snacks as well. And it's a good portion because it's the culture. It's very price sensitive. I mean, the moment hazelnut prices are changing, the consumption changes also. But also, in Turkey, we have just about 19,000 discount supermarkets. And those discount supermarkets have transformed Turkish food consumption habits and FMCG market as well. So we were selling in Turkey snacks in the open markets. Now they're all packaged, all quality control, manufactured in excellent places. And that, for example, fueled the snack consumption in Turkey. So by concluding, I would say if we market it well, if we work together towards an aim and solve the issues in the industry, I don't see that we will not sell more. But we have to produce more before selling more. That's another thing.
More and better, right?
Yeah.
More and quality.
Exactly, quality.
Jordi?
No, just to comment as far as the point of view in Spain, we have the feeling that the challenge is to the snack concept. The ingredient is a mature market, but also the people, because the people are considering hazelnuts as an indulgence, because they are referring immediately to the culinary, to some specific sauces, very typical ones, and of course, mainly is an ingredient of the chocolates, not considered even the hazelnut itself, because otherwise, no, they consider that the hazelnut is an ingredient of the good chocolate brands. That's one. Therefore, the challenge will be going to the snacking, taking advantage of the healthy message that the almonds, walnuts, pistachios are taking the flag, but the hazelnuts has to even take profit of this tendency of the healthy message, but referring mainly to the snacking. No?
Ricardo, do you want to comment on this?
Yes, of course, all the touch point, hazelnut milk and new product ingredients has been already touched. What I have to say that hazelnuts, being a fantastic product and very versatile, can be used really everywhere. And on NPD project has been always the critical point when they've been touching the stability, sustainability on price, has been always considered a risky items. So for sure, with a better stability, we are talking about a huge potential increase on new area, new products, new ingredients. Home baking. Home baking is one of the most interesting trends at the moment because people they are trying to emulate the big chefs and trying to create new things. So definitely for good quality items, there is a big trend to improve the consumption.
Talking about Italy, you have some varieties that are considered as premium, right? And some of them. And
Definitely, we have the three main varieties which are in Italy. We know that these Tonda Gentile delle Langhe, Round Roman, and Giffoni. All of three, they have some very interesting attributes. And besides all these three premium variety, they are also introducing another one, which is kind of a mixture of the two premium, which is extremely interesting, which seems like to have even a better shelf life than the others, and very sweety taste, and of course the peelability of it. And we can see at the end of the crop, all these premium varieties, they are sold out, but they are sold out even at Christmas time sometimes. So we have to say, if you are producing a very good premium quality, you are the winner. So that's, with this trend, we can see that we can grow premium quality pays, and premium quality has always a mouth to go.
Ufuk?
Yes, regarding increase of consumption, I can only say from the Turkish side, as you presented your figures, 1.2 million tons available. I think for increase of consumption, supply security is the most important one, because hazelnuts, as we know, is mostly industrial goods, and people has to know, can I get these goods next year and the year after? As you know, from the industry, all the brands are, the big brands are 50, 60 years old, and they have implemented these brands to have a long-term outcome of this business. And as Turkey, in the previous years, we had only supply of 700, 800, 900,000 tons maximum. Now we reach 1 million and over 1 million. And I'm sure this has shown that the consumption increase is there. Otherwise, we have, as Turkey, we have pressed the oversupply to oils, which is not happening in the last years. A disciplined industry, a technological industry, and the supply chain, value chain, which is existing, is helping also to increase the demand.
Yeah, and we agree that quality is mainly marketing, of course, but marketing of the quality is the driver of the potential new consumption, right? Because also in Turkey, a question, how many tons of premium quality are going to be left in the stock?
No.
None.
If you're
right?
asking me, no.
So even with quantities that are double of Italy or triple, 5 times of Oregon. So
I mean, in terms of...
I'm provoking a bit on this, but...
No, I know. In terms of premium, we need to define the premium. I mean, it can be a premium variety. I mean, that's a perception. And by use, premium variety can differ. But it's a premium quality. It's in a whole different story. And basically, quality is another binary function. It's not 1 or 0. Sometimes you have to protect quality and you have to produce quality. In Turkey, in terms of quality, when you're looking at the trees, I mean, we can't blame the farms or, but we should maybe blame the, the value chain. Yeah. Because we have a lot of lost quality. I mean, by God, I mean, the tree, on the hazelnuts on the tree, they're perfectly fine. But when you're having it, on the facilities, not well dried, not well stored, not well segmented, etc., mixed, then you're, touching some issues on the next chains of the value. So if we are sorting that out, I mean, it's a matter of discipline, matter of business understanding. It's not good or bad. I mean, it's how you're structuring the business. So if we define qualities and if we stick to the definition of those qualities, we can find different uses and we can find also more profitable ways to utilize the higher premium qualities, which will, farmer will gain more. All the chain will make more money out of it.
Yeah, this is an important point because to drive the quality through the value chain, as you mentioned, and I totally agree with you. By the way, quality is, of course, the organoleptic taste of the hazelnut, but on the top of that, we need to put the defects, right? So the specs are entering into the game. And to protect the hazelnut from the tree till us, to the end user, you need to play the best you can in each and every single step. So this is bringing from driving the quality through introducing and driving the efficiency in the value chain. talking about best agricultural practice, talking about best storing practices, talking about best selection practices, technology. What do you think? Is something's moving in Turkey, right? There are initiatives in each and every step of this.
Yeah, I mean, since planted base is so large, maybe Ufuk abi will comment on that as well. Of course, there are small but solid steps towards. I mean, the exporter industry has been very strong in terms of technology and the sense of quality because we are dealing with the final B2B users. And we are learning from them and we are applying the newest techniques in terms of food safety, food technology, etc. And that moves back to the chain, and we are also educating our suppliers back in the chain, which is not really that easy, as you may think, but it's moving there. Because of the dissemination of the information, internet, etc., and when you're spending some time and resources for it, and we are seeing, I mean, each of the large export companies, they have some kind of a sustainability programs, and those are not just a marketing gimmick just to sell more to the Europe. I mean, we are seeing the positive results of that, and we are well motivated. Every year we're expanding the programs because we are getting a value out of it. That's my perspective.
Thank you. Ricardo and Troy, when you were talking about your two countries, you were talking about the roles that farmers associations or other private organizations had in helping the value chain to increase the efficiency, increase the quality. Can you comment a little bit more on this?
Yes. Cooperative organizational producer or association of producer are in this moment extremely important for the growth of the hazelnuts production, because first of all the European funds which are helping the producer either to switch the production from one product to hazelnuts or either to help in the initial investment, which I repeat, today doesn't seem to be huge, but is still €10,000 per hectare investment, plus you need to have the field. So if you don't have the field, you start to have an initial input which could be strong. So the association has been right now a very fine tool for the growers, and without it, everything was much more smaller. Also, in terms of driving the quality, because these new growers they like to enter into the play with a little bit of knowledge, so it's helping a lot and shortening the time. Of course, in agriculture, it's very easy to make mistake, but if you are making a mistake, this is a mistake of 5 years investment, so it's better that we make sure that everything goes well.
Yeah, and we've got two different grower groups that we assess the growers' money, and so half of it goes to research, and that research does everything from working on integrated pest management or the nutrient blends or irrigation programs, things that will help out from the agronomy sector. We want to get the efficiency in the growers. We, in Oregon, are quite efficient already, but we know we can be even more efficient. We want to see, closer to 7 metric ton per hectare in the future from our orchards. We're also doing educational programs on how to harvest earlier so that you have a better quality, so we as processors don't have to put more money into a product to sort out the bad, and we have more to sell that's good. So we're working on different densities in the plantings. Traditionally, we were always a 20 foot by 20 foot. Now it's 10 by 20, and some people are doing 9 by 13 and changing their harvesting equipment to maximize the number of trees that they can get in the ground and get water to. So there's a lot of that going on.
So this is a practice, a best practice that maybe we can also translate into countries like Turkey, Georgia. I think something is happening already, but we should be maybe pushing a little bit more there, right? Last question, then we move to the audience questions. We were touching this topic a little bit in our conversation, sustainability. Can you please comment on your country? Because it's something that 10 years ago was not actually there, right? In terms of demand from the customers and from the users. Now it's becoming more and more a point. And Jordi touched a little bit also that.
Just to comment a little bit, the concept of the drip irrigation due to the problem of the water in our area is clear. We were the first countries that we started with the drip irrigation and also the integrated pest management to reduce the chemicals. I think that is the only thing that we can do because the size of the orchards or the farms in Spain are quite small ones, I've been handled, but these concepts are coming more used to do, no?
Some others?
Sustainability is an important issue of differentiating ourselves. Sustainability is also required from the consumer side. Industry is asking where I am getting my goods, which conditions, can I go up to farm level, what is the implementation on the farm level, fertilizer usage, pest management, drying conditions, how do they harvest the goods, and where is the goods stored, what is the implication after post-harvest, good agricultural practices, labor rights, labor conditions, not only labor who is working in the field, it's also important to have the workers, the migrant workers, and all this supply chain, all the value chain has been focused in the sustainability issue. It's an important issue because it is not only to show somebody that we have a good organized value chain, it is also yields are improving with it, quality is improving with it, and the cost, which is also affecting the farmers, reducing the cost and have more income. This is a package which is differentiating us. In Turkey, it is done from exporters, from private companies, and also with the help of boards and Ministry of Agriculture and good agricultural practices. This is implemented, it is continuing, and this is what it is gaining for the industry much more value.
Thank you. Okay, let's move to the audience questions. I am choosing them, so I'm playing with them. Okay. So let me just try it with this. Okay. Something wrong here.
Oh, hang on.
No?
Yeah.
Okay.
Should have the first question on the board now. It'll come up if you read it and then it'll...
Okay, this is for myself and for you, Ufuk. The question is, pushing on increasing the number of orchards in Italy and worldwide with a stable demand for hazelnut worldwide, don't you think that the market could collapse? So, this is for me. Okay, no, I think we mentioned before, I don't think the market is going to collapse if we are doing what we were commenting in the last 50 minutes. So if the production starts to see quality not as a cost, but as an opportunity, I think that the market is not going to collapse. We have seen that we have a lot of potential new markets that they are not still using hazelnuts. US is one of them, but we can talk about Asia, is China, not only China, by the way. But the competition will be higher as for everyone. So the point is that we need to really reduce, when I'm saying we, I'm talking about the sector, we need to reduce the volatility, as I mentioned at the very beginning. And we need to ensure to the final customers the proper quality, the proper cost for them by distributing the proper income all along the chain. So this is not just a job of the farmers. It's not just a job of the processors and the traders. It's not just a job of the users as we are. It's a job of the entire value chain. And I'm happy because today we heard that in the different countries, even with different structure of the sector, we are talking about Oregon, when the farmer is having, I don't know, 100 hectares, 200 hectares, and we're talking about Georgia, Azerbaijan, and Turkey, where the farmer has 1 hectare in average. We are basically hearing the same thing. So I think if we enter into the mood that quality is an investment for the future and for to grow in the market, we are not going to see a collapse. I don't know, Ufuk, what do you think?
The other issue which I have to add is last year we had also a supply of 1.2 million tons globally. The market didn't collapse. The price movement is due to currency in Turkey mainly. But I have to confess that the TMO, the Turkish Grain Board, did a fantastic job this year to balance the market. Even as free industrials, we are again at governmental intervention, but this was this year a balancing move which they handled with roughly 140,000 tons, and the market didn't collapse. And the market has to feel, do I get good quality? Do I get enough material to develop my products and serve my customers? This is the main issue which happened, and this will continue the same also.
Okay, let me publish a couple of questions that are touching what you just mentioned. So, to sum up, how do we see the intervention of the TMO and the government in the sector in Turkey? You started already to touch this, but maybe we can elaborate a bit more.
Ufuk made I think, very good start now. I think TMO made a stellar job in terms of regulating market this year. So we were using the term market dominance or government intervention. Now we're talking about market regulation. I mean, this is my personal point of view. I mean, their purchasing price was market, a bit better than market, but not a populist price. Their incoming quality requirements were okay, and they were sellers when they were buyers. So, I mean, they did not buy to crash the hazelnuts to oil, and basically their selling price was like a trading company. And Turkish Grain Board is a very well-experienced organization in grains, and they're moving a lot of merchandise for many years. But this year, I believe they also helped to hold the market, and since they closed the circle by selling the merchandise the same year, the same crop year, it's a good sign of regulation.
Yeah, and if I may add, another thing that maybe is not so easy in this process, that the stock that they built and they kept is stored in, let me say, new warehouses. So this is also an important move into the direction of improving the practices in each and every single step. So this is done not only by TMO, by the way, it's done by also the private companies, but it's not anymore the 2001 stock, no? That it was stored somewhere and then we were finding it in 2004, right? Exactly. It's changing the way that they are approaching also the market.
I mean, it's a country policy, basically, and that's a political decision. But when you're looking at it, how they're executing it, I believe it's still within the market definition in terms of price, in terms of, for example, they did not accept whatever came from farmers. They made some segmentation of quality and regions, etc. So that helps you when you're approaching them to buy the hazelnuts, because they know what they are selling. They are not only, they have not only received, but they brought in. It's a good sign.
Ufuk?
I have only to add that they did a great job. Why? Not because they intervened the market. They showed also the readiness in a short time, in 3 months' time, to buy 140,000 tons in good conditions, store it with a big effort, make the money ready, give the confidence to the farmers. If the market price falls down to a certain level, we are there, and give also to the other side, to the industry. If you want, you can buy from us. So buying price and selling price was the market, and this was the regulation, the balancing factor of Turkey. Not as previous years, like 2006 to 8, there was a political move of TMO. This time, a very good balancing and giving confidence to the globe. Turkey is balancing his price and availability with some kind of a control.
Ricardo?
Hello. To be honest, I wish in the future that there is no real intervention. I mean, already we need to fight with the mentality of the growers, which has the right and is the owner of the hazelnuts and is speculating as much as he wants. I have some growers which are affiliated growers, which they have 3 years crop in the hand. For sure, he's a rich grower, doesn't need to sell. But he hasn't sold at €4, at €3, and now he's even losing. He said, no, I must wait. So with this kind of intervention from the growers, which is a self-regulating marketing mentality, which works much better than all of us all together, why we should still keeping with the mentality of intervention, governmental, please stop here or increase there. So I'm not against, of course, but I wish in the future to have less volatility and to have less intervention, to have a free market.
Okay, thank you very much. So thank you very much to all of you to help me to do this round table. Our time is finished, and so have a good day, and thank you very much for attending.